was the cut of the sagittal CT scan that I saw. There's essentially four posterior cortices, and I was a little concerned that I would not be able to get those anatomically correct. And thankfully, the Volkmann was essentially this larger piece, and as Dr. Nino mentioned, with an entry portal access point to just reach a shoulder hook through the front and help tip that back out of extension. And so I saw those four cortices back there and thinking, maybe this isn't one where I should go in the back. Given that all the soft tissue's been traumatically stripped medially, do I want to strip things now posterolaterally? Now you have 360 degrees of stripping. Obviously not ideal. So I'm really glad you said that. I had the same reasoning. And we can jump right into the fluoros unless there's more comments from the faculty.
So I want to mention one more thing. So
Please.
number one is I think we maybe we should have underlined more the pilons. I think the soft tissues are the most important thing, right? The worst pilon would be an infected after an ORIF. So that's why when you're choosing multiple incisions, you got to be super careful and trying to balance that, not to end up with an infected pilon. And as you mentioned, like stripping the bone around the whole circumference, obviously will get better reductions, better x-rays, but compromises, there's a cost of tissue cost. So you should balance all of that. The other thing is like you mentioned too, when there's comminution and you cannot get it right anatomically, you both mentioned already, it's not a good idea to go after the posterior part, like to the posterior approach. I do a lot of posterior approaches, but if you're not gonna get it anatomic, like it's a simple fracture line that you can make sure that it's anatomic, then it's not going to help you and it's going to hunt you back when you go to the front. The other thing that at the joint fragment, although you may get the metadiaphyseal cortex perfect sometimes, there's some impaction at the joint. Like the joint actually in the sagittal plane elevated up, like impacted up, and you may not recognize that until you see it and you see like you reduce the posterior fragment and the tibial plafond, the posterior fragment doesn't match the talar dome. It looks like there's more gap than talar. There's some impaction, and you need to find a way to address that too. You usually need to kind of the osteotomize from the front, etc., before putting the anterior fragments back on. So which kind of makes it things a little harder. So, but you need to recognize all of this, and sometimes you do like best cortical reads on the back, best cortical reads on the front, and the joint doesn't match. That's usually something more that you may not have noticed until then.